Hey everyone, this is Mr. Nunley, your English teacher. I hope you guys are all doing well. Today you're supposed to be watching Act 2 of the Romeo and Juliet movie. Unfortunately, the website that you use to watch the movie for free has moved slightly. So you still get to watch the movie for free, but it's not in the same spot that it was before. So I'm making this video today to show you that it slightly moved locations. You'll still be able to watch the movie for free, so please just follow the steps of this video. And again, you'll be able to watch Act 2 of Romeo and Juliet, the movie, for free. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up a tab so I could do a Google search. I'm going to go here, open up a tab. Now I'm on my Google search. Now that I'm on my Google search, in my search bar, I'm going to type in Romeo and Juliet 1968 full movie, free 1, 2, 3 movies. Again, I know that's a lot of information. You can pause this video and type that in. Alright, when I click on Romeo and Juliet 1968 full movie, free 1, 2, 3 movies, it takes me to this page. Last week when I posted this video on how to watch Act 1 for free, the free movie version was right here, number 2. Unfortunately, that's moved. I have no idea why it moved, but it did. So you're no longer going to click on the second link. What you're going to do, you're going to scroll down. So I'm going to scroll down on my page. And I'm going to go all the way down until I see Watch Full HD Romeo and Juliet 1968 Online Free HDFI. So that's the one you want to click on to watch Act 2 of the movie for free. Again, last week it was right here, number 2. It's no longer that link. Again, you have to go scroll down. It's around the 6th one down. Again, you're going to click on Watch Full HD Romeo and Juliet 1968 Online Free HDFI. So once you click on that link, you'll be taken to a screen like this. Again, the movie's kind of on the right hand side. So there's the movie. You can click play. I'm going to go to full screen. So for today, you're supposed to watch all of Act 2. So Act 2 of the movie starts at 38 minutes and 52 seconds. I'm going to go down to the white cursor here. Scroll down until I get to about 38. There we go, 38:51. Press play. Again, if you want, you can put captions on. Go up to the CC. I'm going to put on English. Close it out. Okay, again, this is Act 2 of the movie. I'm just lowering the sound on my movie real quick. So at this moment, Act 2 of the movie has begun. This particular part is not in the movie, or excuse me, is not in the book version of the play. This is just a little added part of the movie director that he put in there. Now this is where Act 2, Scene 1 really begins. The Capulet feast is now over. Romeo and Juliet have hooked up. They're now in love. Unfortunately for them, they don't discover that they're enemies until after they hook up. Here, Romeo and his friends, Benvolio, Mercutio, are done with the party, and they're supposed to all be going home. It looks like they have been drinking a little bit, who knows. But Romeo is now hiding from his friends, and he's about to leap a wall that's going to get him into the Capulet orchard, or garden, or backyard. And the reason why he's doing this is because he desperately wants to spend more time with Juliet. Again, they just met, they hooked up, they held hands, they kissed a couple of times. They already think they're in love. So instead of being wise and going home and maybe hooking up another day, Romeo dangerously jumps the Capulet wall to go try and find Juliet. This is a really risky decision for him, because if he gets caught by a Capulet such as Tybalt, he's a dead man. Remember, Tybalt was furious that Romeo crashed the Capulet party. He said, I promise I'm going to get you back later, and if he catches him now, right now is the perfect time for Tybalt to seek revenge. Luckily for Romeo, he just happens to come across a balcony, and out of fate, out of destiny, Juliet just happens to be there, and guess what she's talking about? She's talking about how much she loves Romeo. Romeo and Juliet are called star-crossed lovers because it seems like everything that happens to them, this aligns perfectly for them to be together. The only thing that's really holding them back is their families are enemies. Alright, so Romeo's being a creep and eavesdropping on Juliet here. I'm going to go ahead and pause the movie here and show you some other things. Alright, so hopefully you guys figured out how to watch Act 2, Scene 2 for free. I'm now going to go to my Google Classroom homepage to show you guys some of the resources that I posted. So if you go to my Google Classroom homepage, this is my homepage here. If you scroll up to the top of the screen, you'll see a tab that says classwork. Go ahead and click on that. And you'll see the Act 2 resources that I posted. It's basically Act 2 recaps for Romeo and Juliet. So all you got to do is click on those. There's one for Act 2 Scene 1 all the way to Act 2 Scene 6. There are 6 scenes in Act 2, and there's a recap for every scene. The first one, you just click on it, press play, and the recap begins.
Can I go forward? When my heart is here, turn back, dollar.
So I really like these nerd study recaps. Unfortunately, they stopped at Act 2, Scene 2. So I was forced to find another version of recaps for Act 2, Scene 3 through Scene 6 and for the rest of the play. The other recaps are not as good. They kind of have some cheesy animation. The nerd study ones are halfway decent in terms of the animation and the review. The new ones that I show you have a lady and some, again, really cheesy, cheap animation. But I feel like they're still helpful. This is not as good as the nerd study ones. So since they're not as helpful, I'm going to do some review for you guys right now. So I'm going to briefly talk about each scene. I got about 8 minutes left of this video at the most because this screencasting company only gives me 15 minutes per video. So again, I'm going to do a brief recap to just catch you up on anything that you missed. So here we go. So first we got Act 2, Scene 1. So you kind of saw that in the movie. Act 2, Scene 1 is an extremely short scene. The Capulet feast is over. Romeo and Juliet hooked up at that feast. All they did was hold hands and kiss a couple of times. Unfortunately for them, they did not know each other when they hooked up. Unfortunately, they learned that they're enemies after they hooked up. Because they're young and immature and not really being wise because of the fact that they're kind of in awe of each other right now, they're kind of love struck right now, they don't realize that being enemies is going to be a really big problem for the relationship. So despite them being enemies, they are madly in love, or at least they think they're in love. I like to blame Romeo more than Juliet at this moment because Juliet's only 13. This may be her first kiss ever. So imagine your first kiss. Sometimes you might have thought it was just so perfect and amazing. Later on you realize that it wasn't, but in the moment you're just amazed by how you feel. Romeo is more experienced. We're never given his age, but he's probably around 18. He's probably hooked up with girls before. And the fact that he's, like, again, so love-struck at this moment is definitely immaturity on his part. Remember, he went to this party to hook up with Rosaline because Rosaline doesn't love him and he's trying desperately to get at her. But the moment he gets to the party, Rosaline disappears and he sees Juliet, and that's the girl he now loves. Luckily for him, she responds, and the love is mutual, meaning she returns it. And again, like I said, they kiss a couple of times. But Act 2, Scene 1, party's over. Romeo leaves his cousin Benvolio and his friend Mercutio hanging. He goes and jumps the wall to the Capulet orchard or backyard to go and try to find Juliet. That's it, really short scene. Act 2, Scene 2. This is a much longer scene. Romeo is now in the backyard of the Capulet home. He's looking for Juliet. Again, very dangerous. If the Capulet catches him, he might be a dead man, especially Tybalt, who promised to get revenge on Romeo for crashing the party. Again, out of fate, out of destiny. They're called star-crossed lovers for a reason, because everything seems to align for them to be together. Romeo just happens to come across a balcony where Juliet's discussing how much she loves Romeo. She's talking to herself, and Romeo's being kind of a creep, eavesdropping on her. Eventually, Romeo can't hold back. He can't take it any longer, and he starts to talk to her. She's a little embarrassed by the things that she was saying, but it starts to click very quickly. Long story short, Romeo and Juliet decide to get married. Again, they just met. They've held hands a couple of seconds. They kissed 2 times. They know that they're enemies, and they foolishly decide to get married the day after they meet. Again, these families hate each other, the Montagues and the Capulets. How's this wedding going to work out? Probably not. Act 2, Scene 3. This is where Romeo runs to Friar Lawrence's church to ask Friar Lawrence if Friar Lawrence could marry him to Juliet. Friar Lawrence is kind of confused by this because apparently Romeo has shown up to the church many times before, crying how Rosaline doesn't love him, she won't love him, and now he's asking to marry his enemy. Again, very confusing to the friar. You would think the friar, being a religious man, a wise man, would say no. That's the wise answer. You just met. You're enemies. But Friar Lawrence selfishly says, yes, I will marry you. So why does he agree to marry Romeo and Juliet? The main reason is this. Friar Lawrence thinks if he marries Romeo to Juliet, it will end the feud. Romeo will become the son-in-law to the Capulets. Juliet will become the daughter-in-law to the Montagues. If the 2 children, again, these are only children, Juliet's the only child of the Capulets, Romeo's the only child of the Montagues. If their children were to be married, they'd be forced to end the feud. Again, in my opinion, kind of selfish, because the odds are stacked against Romeo and Juliet. They have to be very secretive with everything they do right now, because their families would not accept the fact that they're marrying the enemy. So again, kind of a selfish decision, because odds are this marriage is not going to work out. And again, how would Romeo's and Juliet's parents react to know that a friar, a priest essentially, went behind their backs and married their children? Kind of a bad decision, but he has good intentions to end the feud. Act 2, Scene 4. Romeo is basically meeting with the nurse here. They're coming up with a plan for Romeo and Juliet to get married. The plan is this. Juliet's going to tell her parents, oh, I got to go out to church to basically pray and do confession. She's not really going to church to pray and do confession. She's really going to church to marry Romeo. Really good excuse, though, because if you ask your parents, hey, I want to go to church, they'd probably tell you yes and not think of it. But she's being secretive, and she's really going to church to marry Romeo. Another part of the plan, Romeo's servant, Balthazar, is going to drop off a rope ladder to the nurse, and that rope ladder is going to be given to Juliet. Romeo's going to sneak over the Capulet wall again into the backyard on the night of the marriage. Juliet's going to hang that rope ladder from their balcony, and Romeo's going to climb up that rope ladder so they could hook up and have sex because it is their wedding night. Act 2, Scene 5. Really short scene. Juliet's anxiously awaiting word from the nurse on whether or not she will be married to Romeo and when she'll be married to Romeo. The nurse kind of gives Juliet a hard time by delaying. Saying, oh, my neck hurts, my head hurts, I can't tell you now, just give me a minute. Finally, the nurse is like, guess what? You're going to get married to him tomorrow. You're going to get married to him. Go to the church and you'll become a wife. And the final scene in Act 2. Act 2, Scene 6. Really short scene. Romeo and Juliet get married. Some ironic advice. Friar Lawrence keeps telling Romeo and Juliet, like, wisely and slow, they stumble who run fast. So he's telling them to slow down with their relationship because it's happening so fast. Yet he's agreeing to marry them when they just met. So a little bit hypocritical by Friar Lawrence, telling them to kind of slow down. Yet he's rushing things by getting them married, again, the day after they met each other. So that's my personal recap of Act 2, Scene 1 through 6. Hopefully listening to the audiobook on YouTube, watching the movie, watching these recaps, and listening to this will help you. You'll have a short quiz on Friday. Your day 23 assignment is a short 5-question Google form for attendance. Should be really easy. Again, you're going to watch the movie today. Good luck. Hope you guys enjoy it. Take care.